What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the stimulus package update, the debt ceiling update, pretty much everything you need to know about, as well as money, investing, and the stock market, and everything going on in our country. The fallout from actually passing the debt ceiling increase, which we needed to do in the Senate, and we actually had the Republicans and Democrats come together for just a few minutes to pass the bill in the Senate. But now we had Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer slam the Republicans right after the bill passed. Now that has actually pushed the Republicans and Democrats farther away than ever. And now the Republicans are vowing to not work with the Democrats maybe ever again. Yeah, now the problem with this is that the debt ceiling extension is only for 2 months. And what's going to happen in 2 months? They also have a government shutdown coming again in 2 months as well. And I'll give you the latest on that, as well as new stimulus measures actually announced for up to 500,000 people. Give you the latest on that, as well as the negotiations on the stimulus package that is probably going to be somewhere in the $2 trillion range, somewhere between 2 trillion and 2.9 trillion is the most likely number on that, as the Democrats are negotiating amongst themselves. Senator Joe Manchin, the Dino, Democrat in name only, as a lot of our viewers would tell you. Is he still a Democrat? Well, you could let me know in the comments. Some people would say maybe, maybe not. But we're going to go over all that in this video. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll keep you up to date with what's going on in our country, this next stimulus package, and everything you need to know about. So if you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below, and let's jump right in. Okay, so on Thursday night, the Senate, the Republicans and Democrats came to an agreement and passed a bill in the Senate. They had two votes. The first vote passed 61 to 38, with an agreement coming from a Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, kind of throwing an olive branch to the Democrats, to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. And they had to do this to avoid a government default, a first ever government default, which would have been absolutely catastrophic. And a lot of other Republicans didn't want to do this, including former President Donald Trump was telling all the other Republicans, don't do this. You have the Democrats right where you want them. Nonetheless, Mitch McConnell pretty much did the right thing. I mean, we can't have the country default. Mitch McConnell actually was pretty reasonable, in my opinion. You can let me know your thoughts if you think differently. We can't let the country default. So Mitch McConnell threw an olive branch to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and said, here's a short-term extension deal, 2 months to pass the debt ceiling and prevent the country from defaulting. They passed the bill in the Senate, and then Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer completely slammed the Republicans right after. And we discussed this in the video from yesterday. I don't think that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer should have did that. A lot of people said, oh, he had the right to do that because Republicans shouldn't have put them in this position right away. And I can see that point of view. And then other people said, well, Chuck Schumer shouldn't have did that. He did throw him an olive branch, and they did make a deal, and the Republicans didn't need to do that because all the 38 other Republicans did vote no. But then I got a lot of people saying, well, the Republicans needed to pass this bill anyways. They need to just basically do their job, and you really shouldn't need to thank them for doing their job. So I can see both point of views. There was actually a lot of pretty good conversation in the comments last night. So I definitely can see both point of views, and I thought it was pretty constructive criticism. But the fallout from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's blasting the Republicans has really angered the Republicans. Check this out. Leader of the Republicans, Mitch McConnell in the Senate, vows that the GOP, the grand old party, the Republican Party, won't help raise the debt ceiling in December after Chuck Schumer's, quote, tantrum. Check this out. Mitch McConnell warned President Biden on Friday that Republicans won't help raise the debt ceiling later this year, and stated that a recent speech by Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had, quote, poisoned the well. McConnell writes in a letter to Biden, says, quote, last night, Republicans filled the leadership vacuum that has troubled the Senate since January. I write to inform you that I will not provide such assistance again if your all-Democrat government drifts into another avoidable crisis, Mitch McConnell wrote in a letter to Biden. The letter comes after 11 Republicans helped advance a short-term debt ceiling extension Thursday night after a weeks-long standoff where McConnell and his conference said the Democrats would have to raise the debt ceiling on their own through a budget process known as reconciliation. But on Wednesday, McConnell backtracked, offering to let Democrats pass a short-term extension that is expected to last into early December. Republicans say the move helped takes pressure off Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema to change the legislative filibuster and pokes a hole in the Democrats' argument that they don't have enough time to raise the debt ceiling on their own. But McConnell's letter is a warning to Democrats, but also gives an early signal to his own members that he won't give Democrats the same off-ramp in December. The decision by McConnell this week to open the door to a short-term debt extension earned him an unusually intense level of criticism from his own Senate Republican caucus, including behind-the-scene break with members of his own leadership team. Mitch McConnell was criticized by his own Republicans very heavily. And remember that 38 Republicans voted no on that bill and only 11 Republicans voted yes. They needed at least 10, and they only passed the bill by a margin of one extra vote. It also set off an hours-long, down-to-the-wire effort to lock down the 10 Republican votes that would be needed to help advance the debt ceiling extension after conservatives, including Senator Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and Mike Lee, insisted on it needing to overcome the 60-vote procedural hurdle. Republicans were further frustrated on Thursday night by Schumer, who railed against them right after the 11 of them voted to advance the debt ceiling. Schumer blasted the Republican debt ceiling strategy, accusing them of playing a dangerous and risky partisan game and saying Democrats were able to pull our country back from the cliff's edge that Republicans tried to push us over. That move angered several Republican senators as well as Senator Joe Manchin. Senator Joe Manchin actually walked out of the room while Chuck Schumer was reading his speech. Manchin and Republican Senator Mitt Romney and Republican Whip Senator John Thune were among the senators who spoke to Schumer after the speech, with Thune reporters saying, quote, I let Chuck Schumer have it. McConnell appeared to reference Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, who could be seen briefly with his hands over his face during Schumer's speech. Quote from Mitch McConnell, last night in a bizarre spectacle, Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer exploded in a rant that was so partisan, angry, and corrosive that even Democratic senators were visibly embarrassed by him and for him. This is Mitch McConnell writing this. This tantrum encapsulated and escalated a pattern of angry incompetence from Senator Schumer, Mitch McConnell writes in this letter to President Biden. McConnell writes that Schumer's childish behavior has alienated Republican senators who helped advance this short-term debt increase and poisoned the well even further. They're likely the same Republican senators that Schumer would need to lean on to raise the debt ceiling outside of reconciliation later this year. McConnell writes, I am writing to make it clear that in light of Senator Schumer's hysterics and my grave concerns about the ways that another vast, reckless partisan spending bill would hurt Americans and help China. Okay. I will not be a party to any future effort to mitigate the consequences of Democrat mismanagement. Yeah, so Chuck Schumer has really angered the Republicans and now basically has the entire Republican caucus against him, even more so now than ever. And they're now united against him to now they won't vote for it at all for the debt ceiling that has to be voted on again in 8 weeks if the Democrats cannot pass the debt ceiling on their own through the reconciliation package, which, remember, the Democrats were just saying a week ago that they did not want to pass the debt ceiling through the reconciliation package. They said they didn't have time and that they shouldn't have to. They didn't want to pass the debt ceiling through the reconciliation package. So this now further complicates. Now, remember, they passed the debt ceiling in the Senate. They still have to vote on it in the House, but the Democrats can pass the bill in the House on their own. They're expected to vote on that on Tuesday. I'll keep you up to date on that situation when that vote happens. But this further complicates the matter because this extension on the debt ceiling, this debt ceiling is very, very important because it's basically preventing a government default where if the government defaults, we've seen the president say, senators say, treasury secretary say that Social Security payments are dependent on this. If the government defaults, that Social Security recipients might not get their payments. Payments to the military might not go out. The child tax credit, those monthly checks might not go out. The full faith and credit of the United States depends on this. Payments to bonds go on this. I mean, the stock market depends on this. Literally everything depends on the government not defaulting. And this bill is only for 2 months. So in December, early December, they're going to have to do this again, potentially, if the Democrats don't put a debt ceiling extension in the stimulus bill, if they can pass the stimulus bill, which is a whole nother thing. So let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think that Schumer made a mistake by grilling the Republicans? Do you think that maybe he should have just said nothing or just said, all right, thanks, guys, and walked away? Or just bit his tongue? Maybe gone with the old mantra of if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I mean, I just feel like he took the jab when he really didn't need to. I mean, I get that Republicans and Democrats are always trying to fight with each other, but I think this time he really angered the Republicans, and sometimes you need the other party to pass bills. And again, I'm just trying to look at this from a neutral point of view. How are you going to ever get the other party to agree with you on anything when you need the other party to pass the majority of bills? Now, they don't need the Republican Party to pass the stimulus package or maybe the debt ceiling, maybe. But what if they do need them to pass the debt ceiling? What if the Democrats can't pass the stimulus package in time? Or what if Joe Manchin doesn't come on board and they can't pass the stimulus package? Then what? I mean, we literally have Mitch McConnell, and remember, 38 Republicans already voted no on this bill originally, and we're telling the Republican, we already had former President Donald Trump saying not to vote no on this bill to begin with. Only 11 Republicans voted yes on this bill anyways. And then Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer blasted them right after they, voted yes and helped out the Democrats. So now Mitch McConnell is vowing that he won't help them again in December. And it's almost kind of like, all right, well, we're not going to help you again. So, and again, I'm just trying to look at this from a middle point of view. And this is what Mitch McConnell is saying. So I'm just kind of reporting to you here what he's saying, that they're not going to help him again in December. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Next up, the Biden administration has expanded student loan forgiveness eligibility. This new stimulus item will go out for 500,000 people. Student loan forgiveness for 500,000 people to benefit, some immediately. 500,000 people, new student loan forgiveness that has been announced. That's a lot of people, 500,000 people. Biden is moving to cancel $4.5 billion in student loan debt. Who gets the new relief? So again, this is from Yahoo Finance. This is from USA Today. This is from Reuters.com. So just to show you this, I will have a link down below in the description of this video for you guys here at the end of this. But let me give you guys the information here first. So again, they're still announcing new stimulus items here. Um, Still pretty frequently. I'd still say every few weeks. Remember, we just had the SNAP increase 25%, permanent increase for over 40 million people. And now $4.5 billion dollars in student loan relief. I think it's over $1 billion first. Let me give you the information. President Biden administration has announced major changes to a federal student loan forgiveness program that could relieve borrowers of more than $4.5 billion dollars in debt. The overhaul will help hundreds of thousands of other Americans move closer towards seeing their student loan balances wiped clean, the U.S. Department of Education says. This would give them more financial room to save, invest, or get a handle on their other debt. But who qualifies, and what happened to the idea that Biden might erase more student loan debt in a more sweeping manner for tens of millions of more people? I'll get to that here in just a moment as well. The Education Department said it's shaking up the government's public service loan forgiveness program, which was launched in 2007, on a promise that student loan debts of various public service employees would be canceled after 10 years on the job and after 10 years of qualifying payments. That promise has largely been unkept. Government data released earlier this year showed more than 98% who requested forgiveness through the program were turned down, primarily because of bureaucratic hassles. Boy, that's quite a shame. Teachers, nurses, first responders, service members, and so many public service workers have had our back, especially amid the challenges of the pandemic. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona says in a statement, "Today, the Biden administration is showing that we have their backs too. Thanks to the changes announced by Cardona's department this week, 22,000 borrowers are now eligible for $1.74 billion in immediate student cancellation. Another 27,000 borrowers will see $2.82 billion in loans erased if the worker's length of employment in government services checks out. Plus, the rules on what constitutes qualifying payments under the program are being erased. So 550,000 public service employees will move an average 2 years closer towards having their loan balances forgiven, officials say. So when all this goes through, this will put us closer to around $15 billion in student loan forgiveness. I will put a link down in the description of this video to the official student loan forgiveness page of the studentaid.gov website. Here it is right here. It's studentaid.gov/manage-loan forgiveness cancellation. This is just one of a stimulus type program. I mean, literally, you can have tens of thousands of dollars of student loans forgiven or wiped away. As you can see here, in certain situations, you can have your federal student loans forgiven, canceled, or discharged. Learn more about the types of forgiveness and whether you qualify due to your job or other circumstances. But I recommend you use the link down below in the description of this video so you don't go to a scam website or anything like this. Or you can just go to studentaid.gov. Or you can go to the link in the description so you don't go to a scam website. You can see here it says official website of the U.S. government, studentaid.gov. If you're on a mobile phone, you might need to click the down arrow next to the title of this video, or really click on the title of this video to open up the description, and then you'll find the link to that. But there's more student loan forgiveness that's going to be coming in the future. They've kind of been doing this in waves. The first several waves, which was about $10 billion, mostly went to previous students that had disabilities. Their students closed, or I'm sorry, the schools closed on them. Like literally the school went bankrupt, or the school just abruptly closed on them, or the school defrauded them. So school closed on them, school defrauded them, or you have a disability, you may qualify for student loan forgiveness, and you go to that studentaid.gov website to see if you qualify, because they don't just forgive your student loans automatically. You have to go to the website and apply, and then you might get it, as from what I understand. So I don't have any student loans or anything like that. So it's worth looking into if you think you might qualify for that. But President Biden has said in the past he'd be willing to do at least $10,000 of student loan forgiveness for the masses. And Democrats want him to do 10,000 up to $50,000 of student loan forgiveness for everybody with student loans, and that is about 1 in 6 adults in America. And we're talking about people that have already, you're either in school or have long been out of school, but they still have debt. And then I also think that after that, I think that there might be other type of stimulus items like that, debt forgiveness for people without student loans. So remember that student loan forgiveness used to be a fairy tale. People used to think, oh yeah, the government's just gonna forgive your debt. They're just gonna forgive your student loans. People, if you used to say that like 10 years ago, people would like laugh at you, like, oh yeah, right. The government's just gonna forgive your student loans. Yeah, right. That's a pipe dream. And now it's like literally happening. So 10, 20 years ago, you would have got laughed at, like you would have went to the loony bin. Or to think that the government would just send you stimulus checks. Like, yeah, the government's just gonna send you a stimulus check. Or how about the government's just gonna send you monthly checks for having children? Yeah, right. Like you're gonna just have children and the government's just gonna send you monthly checks for having children? Yeah, right. Oh wait, they do that. It's called child tax credits. We live in crazy times, guys. We live in crazy times. So yes, the government actually will send you monthly checks for having children, called the child tax credits. It's a thing. It happens. 65 million people get them every single month. And guess what? They want to extend them in this next package. And yes, we've gotten 3 different stimulus checks already during this pandemic. And that doesn't mean that more might not happen. And they want to extend those monthly stimulus checks as well. And even if there's not an additional stimulus check on top of the monthly stimulus checks for children, there could still be more after this package. Remember that the Democrats are going to be have a whole nother year after this next package to continue to pass more reconciliation packages. So there's probably going to be like 2 more packages over the next year through reconciliation packages as well. But after I think we see a lot more student loan forgiveness, I think we're also going to see a push for what about everybody else that doesn't have student loans? And again, you might think, oh, like, well, for example, credit card debt forgiveness, mortgage debt forgiveness, medical debt forgiveness. Mortgage debt forgiveness can actually be done directly from the government through executive orders because the government actually owns, just like student loan debt forgiveness. The government's just literally doing this. They don't have to pass it through Congress or anything like that because the government owns the majority of student loans through federal student loans. The government also owns the majority of mortgages through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So the government can actually do the same thing for mortgage debt. The government can actually do the same type of things for tax debt, uh, literally through executive order or maybe even just through not even executive order. They're doing these student loan forgiveness, not even through executive order. They're just doing it. They're just literally saying, "Yeah, let's do that." They're not even writing executive orders for it. Now, I think when they do the mass amount, the $10,000 to $50,000, I think they're going to do it through an executive order, like a formal executive order. But these other ones haven't even been through executive order. They're just saying, they're just announcing it. They're just, hey, we just did $1 billion in student loan forgiveness. Ta-da! So I think that in the future, once they get more of the student loan forgiveness, I think we're going to see a movement by the Democrats. I don't think Republicans would support this. Um, what about debt forgiveness for people that didn't get the student loan forgiveness? I think we could see a push for credit card debt forgiveness. I think we could see a push for mortgage debt forgiveness. I think we could see a push for medical debt forgiveness and tax debt forgiveness. And I think it'll be for people that didn't get the student loan debt forgiveness because about 1 in 6 people have student loan debt. But what about the other 5 out of 6 people? And again, for some people that might sound crazy. Like, yeah, the government's never going to give you debt forgiveness. But when you realize that they're already doing it through student loan debt forgiveness, and when you look at these headlines directly from USA Today, 500,000 people to benefit from more student loan forgiveness. Biden is moving to cancel 4.5 billion more dollars in student loan debts. You're like, oh snap. Maybe this actually could happen because they are just this week doing 4.5 billion dollars in student loan debt forgiveness. So, yeah, it's real and it's actually happening. So, anything's possible. So, I'll keep you up to date on student loan debt forgiveness, other types of debt forgiveness that I actually think is going to happen in the future, the stimulus package, possible stimulus checks, in addition to the child tax credits, those monthly stimulus checks that they want to put in there. But remember, they're going to expire at the end of this year, which is only 2 months away. If they don't pass 2.5 months away, if they don't pass this package. So there's a lot of stuff in limbo. And remember, we're also going to have this debt ceiling extension going to have to be passed again in 2 months, as well as the government shutdown as well. Remember, they still have to actually pass the bill. It's passed in the Senate, but the House still has to pass it as well. They're expected to vote on that on Tuesday. So yeah, I'll keep you up to date on all this stuff here on a daily basis. Remember, new videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next video. You can click here to watch my newest stimulus check video, and this video is on Social Security raises. There's several of them potentially coming out. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.